If you're over 70 and haven't received a letter inviting you to be vaccinated, you can now register your interest online.
In a world first, Singapore is ready to welcome international business travellers to connect at Changi.
And police are investigating the incident in Marsiling Park after a woman was killed by a falling tree.
Welcome to The Big Story, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. I'm Olivia Quay.
And I'm Haryanto Diman. You can subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode. 11 new COVID-19 cases were confirmed today, all imported.
The Health Ministry said 4 of them arrived before mandatory on-arrival serology tests were required, and 6 didn't have to undergo these tests when they got here. MOH will share more details tonight.
Meanwhile, seniors 70 years old and above who want to get the COVID-19 vaccine but have not received their letter of invitation can now book an appointment to indicate their interest. This can be done on vaccine.gov.sg.
According to the site, appointment slots are being progressively rolled out and seniors can register their interest. They will then be notified through SMS when appointments can be made online. Seniors can also approach a community centre or call the MOH COVID-19 hotline for assistance.
Short-term business travellers from all countries can now stay in Singapore and have physical meetings without the need to quarantine upon arrival.
This made possible with Connect at Changi, a dedicated 4-star facility where these travellers will stay for the entire duration of their trip.
It's being built as the first facility of its kind in the world. Multimedia journalist Fazana Friday has more.
Business travellers to Singapore who don't wish to be quarantined upon arrival will now have that option. Connect at Changi, a pilot purpose-built accommodation which allows short-term business travellers to stay, work and meet at dedicated facilities, has officially launched. The facility at Singapore Expo and Max Atria was developed by Temasek, the Escort Limited, Changi Airport Group, Shares Healthcare Group, Singex Pier Holdings and Sabana Jurong.
Connect at Changi is really the first facility licensed to operate under the Connect at Singapore initiative. Previously, travel options, as we know, are essentially binary. Either you stay at home due to the ongoing travel restrictions, or you fly overseas and you endure long periods in quarantine. Connect at Changi offers business travellers an additional option.
In order to maintain a COVID-safe environment within the facility, in addition to tests taken before departure from their home countries, guests will have to take a COVID-19 test upon arrival in Singapore, as well at regular intervals throughout their stay here. There are safe management measures to separate international guests and Singapore residents, like separate entrances and exits and meeting zones, as well as contactless room bookings. Some of the meeting rooms have large glass panels to allow for face-to-face interactions between local and international colleagues. Taking just 14 weeks to build, the facility currently houses 150 premium guest rooms and 40 meeting rooms. When fully complete later this year, the facility will be able to host some 1,300 business travellers at any one time. Deputy Prime Minister Heng Swee Keat was guest of honour at the facility's opening ceremony this afternoon.
For some, physical meetings are still important for securing and closing business deals and making important decisions. Face-to-face interactions is also important for growing relationships, strengthening partnerships, and exploring new business opportunities. To strengthen resilience, we have to learn to live with the virus and innovate to overcome the constraints. Doing so will also help to speed up the recovery of our MICE and hospitality sectors, which have been hard hit, and preserve our role as a global business hub.
Room rates at the facility start at $384, inclusive of 3 meals, minibar, toiletries, Wi-Fi, 2-way airport transfer, as well as the COVID-19 test required during the course of the stay. Farzana Friday for The Straits Times.
Well, in other news, the food delivery space will soon see a new contender. AirAsia Food, which is the budget carrier's delivery service, is looking to spread its wings and start operations here. This service started almost a year ago in May 2020. Coming to Singapore would be its first overseas foray.
A 38-year-old woman was killed after a tree fell on her in Marsiling Park this morning. She was Lok Xiao Lee, a senior technical coordinator at Mediacorp. The Singapore Civil Defence Force used cutting equipment to extricate the trapped Miss Lok, and she was pronounced dead at the scene by paramedics. Eyewitnesses heard a loud crack just before the tree fell, pinning Miss Lok under it. About 10 passers-by tried to leave the tree to help her but were unsuccessful. A commissioner at Park said the 20-meter tall tree was found to be healthy when it was last inspected last April.
Looking overseas, protests across Myanmar are getting bigger more than 2 weeks after the military coup on February the 1st.
On Wednesday, traffic came to a standstill in Yangon with thousands of people blocking key roads in and out of the city. The protest is the latest in a widespread civil disobedience movement aimed at disrupting government functions. While the rallies have been largely peaceful, the military has arrested almost 500 people this month.
Kin Zawin, director of the Tampa Deepa Institute in Yangon, told Asian Insider that for now the military appears to be playing for time.
In fact, there are indications that say that the army believes that the momentum of the protests will dissipate in a month. So they are not moving in at the moment. There are just some policemen, and they are waiting to see how long it will last. If it doesn't last, or if it goes on, at some point there will be a breaking point. You see, the economy in Yangon and the government machinery is paralyzed. The bank, central bank has joined, and all the private banks are closed, and the staff are joining, and that's very important. People can't get their money out. At least the economy is running along, because we are mostly agrarian. But at some point, like I said, there could be a breaking point, and violence could erupt.
You can watch the full interview with Kin Zawin and other experts tonight.
This week's episode of Asian Insider premieres on the Straits Times' Facebook and YouTube channels at 8 p.m. Singapore time.
According to British media, nearly 5,000 Hong Kong citizens have applied for visas to live, work and study in the UK. About half of them are already there. Britain changed its visa application program in late January, allowing Hong Kong residents with a British national overseas passport to live in the UK for 5 years and eventually apply for citizenship. These visa changes came after Beijing's imposition of the national security law in Hong Kong last year.
Naomi Osaka will contest her second Australian Open final in 3 years after a masterful semi-final performance against Serena Williams. She'll meet Jennifer Brady in the final. Williams denied again for a record equaling 24th Grand Slam. Osaka bowed 3 times to her opponent at the net, a Japanese sign of respect. It's almost the weekend, which means it's time for this week's Life Picks.
Acclaimed American actress Regina King has won several awards, including an Oscar for her acting. Now, at next month's Golden Globes, she could win her first directing accolade for One Night in Miami.
Well, you can stream that movie on Amazon Prime Video, and if you need reasons other than Regina King as the director to watch this one, here's journalist Jan Lee.
Now, Jan, One Night in Miami is about a fictionalized account of a real meeting in 1964 among 4 iconic black men: Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown and Sam Cooke. How does the film strike a balance between fiction and real life?
So it's basically very dramatized because this meeting did actually happen on the night that Muhammad Ali won his iconic fight over Sonny Liston to become the heavyweight boxing champion. He did celebrate with his 3 friends, Malcolm X, Jim Brown and Sam Cooke, in a room at the Hampton House, which is like, I think it's a hotel that still exists today. It's one of those segregation era hotels back when America had, like, white only places, white only establishments and black only establishments. So he actually did spend the night with his 3 friends. Because this movie is based on a play by Kemp Powers. It's a play of the same name. So basically what Powers did was he imagined what these four people would be talking about, because these four people are all very important to Black history. And Malcolm X was somebody who was fighting for racial equality, racial justice. You look at people like Sam Cooke, Jim Brown. They are all very iconic people in the culture. And of course, Muhammad Ali as well, right? He was a boxing champion. So he imagined what these four men, in their own private space, away from white America, they would talk about amid what is considered the peak of the civil rights movement in America, in 1964.
It sounds very fascinating indeed. So Jen, I'm wondering, out of the four characters, which one was your favorite?
So I have not yet watched the film. I'm about to watch it. I'm very excited to do so. I think I'm pretty excited about Leslie Odom Jr. He plays Sam Cooke. It's also important to remember that out of these four men, two of them would die within 2 years, because Malcolm X was assassinated and Sam Cooke was also shot and killed. So there's like a certain poignancy to the film in that sense, and I'm pretty excited to see what Leslie Odom Jr. would bring, because as we all know, he was in Hamilton and he was really good. So he's also the one getting the supporting actor nominations out of the four. It might just be because he is the most well-known of the cast, but from reviews that I've read, I've seen very, very good reviews about the guy who plays Muhammad Ali and the guy who plays Malcolm X, and actually just the review so far is that the cast is excellent and it's very good, and that the directing from Regina King is very strong. So I'm actually very excited to watch it, and I really hope it's because it's something that's so buzzworthy in the award season. So I'm hoping that anybody who's like a film buff, who's really excited for the Oscars or the Globes, to check it out before the award show happens.
Well, thanks for that, Jen. That was Jan Lee, journalist for the Straits Times. Now, One Night in Miami is available on Amazon Prime Video.
Now, amid the pandemic, many tourism boards of countries like South Korea, Australia, Switzerland and Hong Kong are still promoting their tourist attractions to Singaporeans.
Well, that makes sense because, these countries remain visible to those of us itching to fly when air travel resumes.
Our travel editor Lee Siew Hua joins us to share more. Hi Siew Hua. Siew Hua, you highlighted 7 experiences to try. Now, some can even be experienced right now, albeit virtually. What would you recommend?
First off, we have South Korea's Purple Islands. This everything on these two islands in the southwestern part of Korea are purple-hued, from the rooftops to purple bridges and purple phone booths, and even fields of lavender and lots of hydrangea. Right, and the residents also get into the spirit by wearing purple. What happened is that the provincial government settled on the purple theme to entice visitors. But with the pandemic, no international visitors arrived. Instead, Koreans, including millennials, started visiting and loving the place and posting virally on Instagram. And so the images have reverberated around the world and we can see them. And also, for nature lovers, Australia has a pair of new sky walks in Kalbarri National Park. This is in Western Australia. And by day, these twin sky walks that protrude over the wilderness. Visitors can have vistas of rust-red cliffs, flowing river, and the bushland. By night, it gets even more magical because there are stargazing tours, and to see the scintillating night sky. And somehow, in my experience, in the southern hemisphere, the stars, the firmament, somehow seem closer to Earth. So there you have it.
Okay, thank you, Siew Hua. We've been speaking to our travel editor, Lee Siew Hua. Now, Haryanto, do you like beef noodles?
I actually do. I like the one that is soupy, or what they call it, the Niuro La Mian.
Right.
The one that is from China. Do you like it?
I do, but unlike you, I like the goopy, gooey ones.
Ah, the one that probably is with starch, cornstarch, I guess, right, to make it thicker.
I don't know what's in it.
But whatever it is, our senior food correspondent, Wong Ah Yoke, has tried a lot of beef noodles over the past month. More than 10, I believe.
Wow. Well, he's here now to tell us more about this nostalgic dish. Hi, Ah Yoke. So, what do you look for in a good bowl of beef noodles?
Okay, for beef noodles, like you, I like the local version, the Hainanese version. But I prefer the soup rather than the gooey, starchy, dry version actually. So for me, when I go for beef noodles, I tend to order the soup version. And I like variety, so I usually will order like with a mix of toppings besides the beef itself. I would like to have tendons, tripe, and usually some braised meat as well. So that's what makes a complete bowl of beef noodles for me. So that's what I've been looking for over the past month. I went to various stores, some well-known, some not so well-known, trying to find out which are the stores that I find I like most.
And you know, Ayuk, you've visited more than 10 stalls, so which would you recommend?
Okay, I will talk about my top 3 favorites. The one that I like most actually is in Tiong Bahru Plaza. It's called Juchiat Beef King. It's not a new store. It's been around. It's moved around a little bit, but now it's based in Tiong Bahru Market. To me, it has the best balance of everything. The soup was really delicious, very clear flavor, but there's a beefy robustness as well. And the toppings are very well done. The tripe, the tendon, they are tender but not too soft. So when you eat it, there's a little bit of bite, which I like. The beef balls were obviously handmade. They were small, but you can taste the beef in it. So that to me was very well rounded and was my favorite out of all the stores that I like. My second choice was actually another surprise because it's a chain and it's in a food court. It's called Blanco Court Beef Noodle. It's actually not a new store either. It's been around since the 1970s, but they have expanded over the years, and now they have grown into a chain. And you know, you always think that chain stores usually standards will drop because there's so many outlets. But I figured that because of the way the noodles, the dish itself is cooked, the beef, the tendon, the tripe, they're all stewed separately, and they have been simmered for a long time, and this makes it actually better when it's cooked in big quantities. That's why a chain store works in this case, because you can use a central kitchen, you cook everything together in bulk, and you actually get a better product. And then you sell it to the individual outlets, and yeah, it's turned out really good. Okay, the third one is actually a very, very popular store, been around a long time, for Hua Hing in Bendemeer Hawker Center. I went twice over the past month actually, because I wanted to try the beef dry noodles as well as the soup noodles. For this store, actually, I make an exception because I like the dry version more. The starch, although it looks thick, the starchy gravy, it looks thick, but when you eat it, actually, it was very light. It wasn't gooey at all, and it was delicious. There was a very strong herby flavor, a little bit of spice. So for this store, I would recommend you eat the dry version.
Sounds yummy and beef-alicious indeed. Now that was senior food correspondent Wong Ah Yoke on the best beef noodles in Singapore. Well, looks like I have my weekends planned.
Right. Well, you can always check out the Friday pages in tomorrow's live section for more ideas on what you can do this weekend. For more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below.
Once again, I'm Haryanto Diman with Olivia Quay. Join us tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.